Okay. Let me close my door. Dogs are in here. Okay, so for the beginning of my lesson plan, I started with the high frequency word review, and I chose simple words that the children should already know. And the book I chose was level I, so that's around first grade. So these are simple words that they should already know. And the words I chose were the, me, said, eat, little, and big, because all of those pertain to the book that we're about to read. And so for the activity, I decided to go with a word puzzle. Like I said, they're first grade, so I feel like they're a little bit more like, I know like a lot of kids like the magnetic letters, but I thought like switch it up a bit and do a word puzzle. So I put for the materials, you would need baggies and like cut out letters of the word. And I put each specific word in a different baggie. So like one baggie would have one word. And it would just have like, for the, it would just have T, H, and E in the baggie. And so the procedure I put is have the words written down on a dry erase board or paper prior to giving them the puzzle. And then hand the student each a baggie with the letters and have them take the letters out, identify each letter, so make sure they know what each letter is, even if they say it out of order. Then have them try and arrange the letters to fit one of the words that are on the board. So it's kind of like a more complex puzzle. I'll have all like 5 words on the board, and they'll have to be like, well, I have 3 letters, so I have to make sure that the word that I'm spelling only has 3 letters in it, you know, whichever letters are in it. So once they spell it out, if they need help, you know, I put if they struggle, to help them by specifying what word they have, like what puzzle their words spell. So that way they can actually look at that specific word on the board and be able to spell it better. And then after they spell the correct word, I also want them again to run across it and reading it, you know, like do the finger touching, reading the word out and spelling it one more time. So that's for the high frequency words they already know. So it should be like an easy, quick little activity of them like remembering the words that they already know. For my letter identification, little second activity to do again right before the book, I chose to do name a word that begins with that letter. And so for the materials, I chose an ABC chart. Just either you can write the ABCs on the board, or you can have like a big chart that just has the alphabet in it, and either use your finger or pointer stick so the kids can see which letter you're pointing at specifically. And I chose to work with the letters G, B, M, and T, which are, some of them are, I know B, M, and T are common. I don't know how common G is, but I want them to get familiarized with these first beginning letters because of the words that are in the book that we're about to read. We have the word goat, you know, the word big, middle, so I want them to get familiarized with those few letters. So I want them to identify it, so like when they see it in the book, they know. So for the activity, I'm going to have the students write down a word, any word that they can think of that starts with whatever letter that we're using. So if I point at the letter G, I want them to think of a word like goat or good, the color green, whatever word they can think of that starts with G, even if it's a name. And then have them write down the word and run their finger under it and pointing out where the G is in the word, so like they know that the G is at the beginning. And so that's my second activity for them. Again, it should be like a quick little like recap of the letters. So now getting into the introduction of the book I chose was The 3 Billy Goats Gruff, which is a level I, like I said before, so grade 1 should be around that area. For the book introduction, I put, I'd read the title of the book to the students and then show them the picture on the front of the goat. So if y'all go look at this cover page, I know it's a little small, but the cover is right here. And so go back to the question. Okay, so I said, ask the students what they think the book is going to be about. So after they look at just the cover and I tell them the title, I want them to think about what the book might be about. And then I want them to share with their shoulder partners, do like a little quick, share your ideas, and just have them talk to each other. And then after they share their ideas for a short minute, I'm then gonna, bring them back to the book and maybe mention a few. So I put, for example, I heard so-and-so say that they think this book is about blank. And just go off of that. So then after that, I'd say, let's look at the cover again. How many goats do you see on the cover? They would point out that there's 3 goats on the cover. So now we know that there's 3. And then I'd ask them, what's that in the background on the bridge? Did you guys see that there's a troll back there? So in case some of them didn't notice, I don't know if y'all can see the little troll in the back. I know, again, the picture's real small. But some of them might not have noticed that there's a troll in the background. So some of them may not know that that's a part of the story. So then my next question would be, do you think that the goats will interact with the troll? Let's read and find out. So that's the introduction of my book. Introducing them to it right before we read it. So the meaning, the gist of the book, I know we all know what the 3 Billy Goat Gruffs is. Easy, childhood book for us. But I put the 3 goats are trying to get across the other side of the bridge to eat the greener grass, but the troll is trying to stop them because he wants to eat them. I then asked the students what they think the goats will do. What will they do when they approach the troll? Some of the structure for the book, the tricky book language, the one thing I wrote down was the repetition. And I put, for example, Little Billy Goat Gruff. So again, if I want to scroll down to the first page where I have my book, in the very first, on the second page, it says Little Billy Goat Gruff, Middle Billy Goat Gruff, and Big Billy Goat Gruff. So it says it 3 times in a row, and some of the kids might get either tongue-tied, trying to say 3 things that sound very same but have a different beginning. So it might take them a while to read that if they were reading it on their own. So that's why I put it as tricky book language. And for the visual, for the locating known words, again, almost like the beginning where high frequency words, they know the words the, little, big. So whenever we're reading the book, we point out we have the little goat, the big goat, the middle goat, and they'd realize that the 3 goats are different. They're not, all the same. And so for predicting and locating, like I said, I put goat, the words goat, troll, grass, and bridge. And then I would have the students say each word and then find the picture in the book that matches it. Say, where is the troll? And then point at the troll in the book. So that would be all introducing the book to them. So that's a quick flip through before reading it. Okay, and so then we read the book. I don't know if y'all already know this. We already know the story. Right, we don't have to go read it. So after the discussion afterwards, we would talk about what did you just read? So I would ask the kids, what different words did you read that you didn't know of before? Have them answer a few, and then ask them if they were difficult to understand, and then go over a few of those words. Saying, if they didn't know before, how would you figure it out? Would you ask a friend for help? Would you use another word as context clues to figure out what word that one was? So this is all part of the discussion. Telling me about the story, because it was a fiction story. I put, what did the goats do when each of them crossed the bridge? Asking just simple questions about the story. Why did the troll let the first 2 pass? But why did he let the first 2 goats pass? Was he waiting for the 3rd one? What was happening there? And then what happened in the end to the troll, when he gets thrown over the bridge by the 3rd goat? And then as the last part of the discussion, ask the kids what their favorite part was and why. And if they, are kind of needing a recap of the story, I would ask questions like, did you like the part where the little goat and the middle goat crossed the bridge and tricked the troll? Did you like the part where they tricked him? Or was your favorite part when the troll got thrown over his own bridge by the bigger goat? Like, stuff like that. That might be like the funner parts of the story that they remember. And so then after the discussion, after we talk, you know, they can talk as shoulder partners, we can all talk as a class, however they feel like doing it. And then we can go into the teaching point, which I only wrote a few key points about it because I know that the teaching point is supposed to be specifically like in the moment, you know, like you're reading it, they don't know a word, they didn't have to figure out something, and so like you really quick go back and teach them, you know. So I put for the print concept was one of the bigger ones I was going to use. Did they notice or read the words different on page 10 because they were a bigger font? So if we go down to the 10th page in the book, which is at the very last page of my template here, on the top, it says trip trap in huge bold letters, right? They're all capped. And the big goat, when he says, "It's me," in a deep voice, you know, thinking, does the kids realize that it's like a deeper voice because it's bolder? Did they talk different? So that's one of the things I would do for the teaching point. Go back and look at that. Also for the comprehension, I put, did they understand what was going on in the story? And did they see that different characters were talking at different points? Because we have 4 characters in the book, and I would explain that during the teaching point. You know, we had the 3 goats and then the troll, and each of the characters all talk and they all have something to say. So I go back and ask the kids, the students, at which point, you know, did you find that different goats were talking? How did you know which goat was talking at what point? And that would just be like a quick recap of the teaching point. So then after the story and the teaching point, we go into our interactive reading section. And the sentence I chose, because it says up here to have a sentence prepared, and have them from the familiar book and have them write down what they can. And I chose a pretty easy sentence. I chose, "Who's that coming over my bridge?" And after, you know, they write down what it says and everything, I would ask them who they thought said that in the story, if they remember. I'd have them flip back in the book and find it in the book and read it, make sure they spelled it right, like if they're not, you know, spelling easily, because bridge might be harder for them to spell, you know, with like sometimes the D, they might forget it because it doesn't sound like it's in there. So I'd have them go back and look at the book and see, oh, the troll is the one who said that, and he actually said it in multiple different spots. He said it to all 3 goats. So see where they can find each one in the story. And then we go down to our phonemic awareness activity that I chose. For the materials, for the phonemic awareness, I wasn't going to use any materials, so I put for materials their hands and their listening ears to make sure that they're paying attention, because I remember her saying that, you know, phonemic awareness is something that you could teach in the dark. You know, you don't necessarily need anything for it. So I put, for my procedure, the words I chose for the activity are trip and trap, which are 2, you know, of the words that are the ghosts walking over the bridge, like little sounds. And they look very similar, so that's why I wanted to like analyze them. They look similar, but they sound, you know, like trip, trap. So I'm going to have the students clap out the syllables for each word, and then the students will look at the beginning sound, TR, so they go chur on both words sound the same, trip, trap. And then ask them the question, do both words start the same? What sound is the beginning for both of those words? And have them figure out that you have to read the word all the way through in order to finish saying it. So like they're not the same word just because they start the same. And so for my phonics activity, our phonics activity, for the materials, I did get a dry erase board for this one, a dry erase board and a marker, only because I want them to see a visual of it because it's a little bit more difficult. For the procedure, I put the students We're also going to be using the words trip and trap because I still want to be going over these 2 words with them. And on the dry erase board, I'll write down the word trap, and then right underneath it, write down TR, and then leave a space where the A would be, and put a P. So it spells out trap, but the A is gone. And then I would ask students what letter will replace the A or the I, like say if we spelled trip or if we spelled trap, what letter can you place there to make it a different word? So if it's spelled trip on the top with the I, they can notice at the bottom that if they take the I out and put an A in its exact spot, it switches the whole word. And that's, again, showing them that they need to read the word all the way through and sound out every single letter so that they know which word they're saying. And so I didn't say where I got this information from, but most of my stuff was it was in like chapter 17, I believe. I was really into that chapter because it was all about phonemic awareness and the phonics. And so I used, 408 in guided reading for the phonics and 404 for the phonemic awareness. And then back up at the top, there's a chart on 465 that I used for the letter identification. And then for the high frequency words, I did 418 because it went over just a little bit about like what high frequency words are for the children. And so that's my lesson plan.